Right.
It doesn't.
So we could contribute for infrastructure for ARPA money. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, we'd like to go ahead and kick this meeting off. Good morning. Welcome to the Warren County Board of Supervisors special meeting. Today's date is Thursday, August 3rd, 2023. It's 9:30 a.m. and we're in the Warren County Boardroom. Can we get a roll call, please?
McIntyre.
Here.
Snell.
Here.
Peter.
Here. Okay, we do have a quorum. The first item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and we have a claims issue to discuss today.
I would move approval of the consent agenda as presented to us.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. Okay, consent agenda and the claims are approved. Okay, second item will be a public meeting for the third reading to review and consider with possible approval of the zoning ordinance updates as set out in the temporary land use regulation resolution approved on May 2nd, 2023. I'd like to make a motion to go to a public meeting.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. Okay, we're now in a public meeting. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak to the Board of Supervisors on the land use regulation resolution?
Mr. Chairman, will there be a presentation of the zoning ordinances and so on? No. Okay. So I would be willing to speak or would you ask to speak at some appropriate time.
Okay. You can speak right now if you'd like. Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Craig Hill. I'm a farmer of Town. Address, you need address also, Karen?
Yes, please.
10438 213th Avenue, Ackworth. And I come today very unprepared. I've not read completely the document. I have not spoke with any of the committee members that designed the document. I'm not all that familiar with the structure and how we're going to proceed, but I've been understanding from neighbors and community members and relatives and others that they're quite concerned about this. They find it to be very restrictive. They find it to be something that maybe not fully vetted with the community and the public at this date. So I just came here to learn, and I don't want to delay and prolong your meeting with that presentation. But I will review it, at some point. I know there's a lot of interested parties who would like to hear more about it and become better educated about it. I guess a question I would ask, there's seldom anything that's ever brand new, and there's 99 counties in Iowa. So is this analogous, what you created here, is this analogous to what's been done in other counties, and how many counties? Is it consistent, or how does it deviate with what is common? I know not all the counties in Iowa are even zoned. I mean, there's counties that are not zoned. So some of that information, I guess, would be what I would be interested in. And then look at the consequence. What is the consequence of that zoning? There's been experience around the state, if a county has been with these ordinances for 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, how has it been handled and how has it been, what's the effect been? Yes. So.
Let me explain a little bit where we're going.
Okay.
Just to give you a little historical context so that things come into play here. The ordinances that we've had on the books were developed way back in 1980. And then there was a comprehensive plan, land use plan, put together back in 2002. But the problem that developed from that is that the ordinances weren't updated to match the comp plan that was developed in 2002. So as a result, in our ordinances, we actually have conflicting language that contradicts each other. Our intent at this point in time is it is part of a much longer process that we're going to be going through over the next 10 to 12 months. We are now several months into this process. This is just a step as we've gone through. The zoning commission has had 5 separate meetings on this. We've had an additional 2 joint meetings with them, plus there's been numerous other public activities where we've been trying to get as much public input into the thought process over the last several months, like going back to March. And so during this time period, then we have now come up with these ordinances. And we actually took a pause in additional development during this time period so that we could actually get some of these ordinances that had conflicting statements in them to be at least consistent. And so that's all we're really doing at this point, is trying to bring up the ordinances up to the 2002 syncing with the comp plan and land use plan. As part of that, there is a overarching policy that we're looking at. We're trying to make sure there's a careful balance between rural and urban development, where that the rural development is not encroached upon in a negative way that it impacts the agricultural areas in particular. Because what's been happening over a long period of time is that people started to move from the cities out into the middle of the rural areas, and therefore you end up having additional impacts on the infrastructures for people to get to and from their homes to wherever they're working. And at the same time, potentially creates conflicts with the other agricultural activity that has been going on for a very long period of time. So if anything, this is intended to start moving us towards a careful balance between rural and more urban type activity and development. So if anything, probably we're protecting ag areas more than we are encouraging development in ag areas through this, because of some of the language that's been changed, and also make it all more congruous with 2002 deal. Over the next 10 months, we're going to be going through an additional process that will update the land use and comprehensive plans for the county. That will bring us up to 2023. So there's lots. What we are approving today is not where we're going to end up. This is just a step in the timeline. So if you're looking at a football game analogy, we're maybe at midfield. We're not anywhere close to the goal line at all, where this is all going to end up. So we've got another 10 to 12 months of additional public input and modernization of the ordinances. So this is just a step in the process of where we're going to end up.
Good. I speak. So if that's the case, Mark, I'm pleased to hear that. I was hoping that this wouldn't be an approval that would cascade to completion without more public input and a more public view.
There's going to be a whole lot more. So this,
Very good.
like I said, I think the football analogy is probably pretty good on that. The county attorney kind of showed that as an approach. He said, "Mark, we're only in midfield." With where we're going.
It's the 20-yard line, actually, you know.
I have no idea.
Is it first down or third down? I mean,
Yeah, exactly. We're nowhere close to.
We're on first down.
We're nowhere close to
We got a
touchdown.
long ways to go.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and if I had any influence here, it would be to postpone, any final decisions so that we have some more vetting and opportunity to discuss. I would leave you with one final question or thought, I guess. As a farmer and producer, and I look at county that have different designs of zoning, when you restrict somebody to 10 acres, let's say for example, or more, a 40-acre tract of land may become 4 homes or 3 homes, but it disqualifies that other land to be still an agricultural abuse because with fences and with property disputes and things, it's unlikely somebody's going to farm the field of 28 acres, right? Or 15 acres or something. It's going to be, you're going to see the revenue, I guess, of agriculture go down in this county with that design. So it maybe benefits agriculture in some ways, Mark, but it's also going to be negative for our production, our productivity, I guess you will.
Yeah, just to reassure you that we're looking at all those issues. The revenue streams for the county, we're actually asking for some additional information to be able to share with the public so people can understand what the true revenue sources are for the county. And I think we'll find that over the last 10 years, the residential development, especially in urban areas, is really what has grown our revenue. It's not residential development in the rural areas as much. While there's been some, I think as the actual percentage of what's funding county government and city government and school districts, it's really the urban growth that you'll find is where the revenue sources are coming from. Yeah, another statistic that is a little disconcerting for me, just reading some things from the Census Bureau. 80% of the folks who commute to work in this county are working out of county. So we're not well diversified in terms of activity in the county. So, as an example, Dallas County, right next door here, 60% of their commuters commute out of county. So it's a 20-point difference. We're actually in the top 10 counties in terms of actual commute to work situation, and also time. We're up in the top tier of how long it takes people to go to work. So it's really interesting to see the patterns of development here. So that tells me we need to diversify our economic base here so we have more economic opportunities in Warren County for people so they don't just have to go someplace else to work.
Okay, thank you.
If I could add, the development that we're trying to move, the subdivisions, would be more around the major cities. It's not, to restrict the acreage would be hindrance to people developing out in the rural area. You know, just have a subdivision somewhere. But with what we're doing now, it's pushing them to go within the 2-mile radius of the cities. So if that helps any, I hope.
But there's a lot of people that would desire an affordable place in the country, and we are a bedroom community, and I understand that commute, but many people like just living in the country on the property they own and have some control over it. And maybe if the mother-in-law is ill or a family member, and they can have a machine shed, create living quarters for a relative or something. That happens often, and they wouldn't want to be restricted in that case. So there's a lot of detail that needs to be thought through, and I just hope that we can do that.
Yes.
And what you just raised, Craig, is actually an issue that is before us, and that will be specifically shared as part of what they call accessory buildings or accessory dwellings. And so as we go forward here, that will be something that very definitely will be looked at.
And we had some specific examples through this hearing process of some individuals that felt hindered by the new ordinances as they were being presented. And as I delve deeper into that, I also realized that it's how the surveyor divides the land, is how it's accessed. And so I think there's other options for certain people who feel landlocked, so to speak, that these ordinances are, that's what they're accusing them of doing. But you can't just look at who's going to live on that land right now. We have to look into the future as to who's going to purchase it, and then what restrictions they will have, because they're not part of the family or part of the neighborhood or whatever. So in that instance, that's where these ordinances are really designed to move us into the future, so.
Thank you, and I apologize, but just one last question, and I'll sit down. When you do confirm this plan, whatever should look like. Will others be grandfathered in that maybe don't meet those rules? Will you have a grandfathering phase for, if it's 2024, December, this is implemented, somebody preceding that, will they be restricted by the same or not?
I have a feel for that, but, I don't know if Lindsay or Sarah can address that.
Yeah, I
I
think,
don't think you can retroactively go back and.
Yeah.
Ordinances.
and she's with our consulting group.
Okay.
She's working-
Nice to meet you.
I'm sorry.
So the existing lots of record would be considered non-conforming lots, and they would still be treated as they currently are. They would need to, if they're subdivided, if anything changes with the lot, they would need to follow the updated ordinances, but as they exist, it would just be considered a non-conforming lot of record. And we are actually in the process of scheduling a public meeting to have any professionals who this impacts their livelihood to come and learn more about this. So if you'd like to join us, it's gonna be on August 22nd
Okay.
at 3 p.m. here in the boardroom. And we'll have copies of these ordinances. We'll go through all of the major changes, and we'll discuss things like the non-conforming lots of records and what processes might need to be used for individual circumstances like what we've heard about during this process.
Good to hear.
Thank you for your comments today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Is there anybody?
Is there anybody else from the public that would like to say something on this matter? I'll make a motion to leave our public hearing.
Second?
Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. Any discussion from the board of supervisors?
Is, Megan prepared to give us a presentation about the revenue just yet, or is that in a future meeting? Or can we talk about,
I didn't hear what you were saying.
oh, sorry, the revenue, was Megan
Oh.
ready for that? or is
Yeah,
that-
in fact, I have had a little conversation with Megan. I've asked her to give us a trend line so we can start to better understand our revenue sources and what has happened over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And looking at it from the perspective of taxable valuation, not just valuation, because of the rollbacks, you have variance here. So
Right.
the important number to look at is the taxable variation, taxable valuation. And from that, then I think we can better understand where our revenue sources are really coming from and how the growth has happened in the various sectors, either urban or rural or otherwise. And one of the things that I think is very striking is, and we'll see this, I think, in our numbers, we'll start to see what significant economic development activity has taken place and where it's coming from and what an impact it makes for all of us. We can start to diversify our revenue sources. Warren County is one of the most heavily dependent counties on residential tax base to basically support our infrastructure. The real key, when you start to see the counties that truly are thriving, they have a diversified tax base. We do not have that here in Warren County as much as we could have. And so, and then when you start to look at the commute patterns and then the length of commute that people have, you have to say, okay, we are in the top 10 for length of commute for people to go to work. That's why. You know, why is that happening? And so that means that people are truly having to drive significant distances to go for their employment. Okay, then is that really what people want to do? Or do they want to live closer to home so they can be closer to their family and also do things other than be on the road, going to and from work? So that's part of what I think can come from some additional statistics that we get and start to understand better. I would hope that our Warren County Economic Development Group would start to take on some of these things and start to help educate all of us on these aspects of things. That's one of the concerns I have, that we need to have folks understanding and talking about this if we're really going to have adequate growth and diversified town.
I think when we have that presentation, we need to invite them to the
Yeah.
meeting so they can understand. Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the zoning ordinances and revisions to bring the ordinances up to date with our 2002 comprehensive plan. My motion is to adopt these ordinances as written in the documents in our packet, referencing Title 4 Property and Land Use, Chapter 46, Subdivision Regulations.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. Okay, that motion is approved. I'll make a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Second.
Roll call.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. Thank you very much.